Let's do a review of integers. So an integer is a whole number. It can be positive, it can be negative, it can be 0, but there cannot be any decimals. Now, when we're using integers and doing our operations such as multiplication, division, addition, and subtraction, we have to pay close attention to our negative signs. So let's go over addition. So let's say that we have a -2 and then we are adding a 3. That is going to give us a +1. And you don't actually have to put that positive sign there with the 1. If there's no sign in front of it, it is understood to be positive. Now, if we have +2 plus 3, that is going to give us +5. If we have 2 plus -3, that's going to give us -1. And if we have -2 plus -3, that is going to give us -5. Now, when you have these two signs right next to each other, so a positive and a negative sign are different, one way I think about it is that the negative is going to win out. And so we can just think of this one here as 2 minus 3, and then our last one as -2 minus 3. So let's write that down. When the signs are different and right beside each other, the negative wins. Let's take a look at subtraction. So let's say we have -2 minus 3. That is going to give us -5. If we have +2 minus 3, that gives us -1. And if we have -2 minus -3, that gives us a +1. And +2 minus -3 gives us a +5. So let's take a closer look at what is happening when we have these negative signs right beside each other. Now, when the signs are the same and right beside each other, the sign is going to be positive. So if we have two negatives beside each other, that actually turns into a plus. And if we actually had two positives beside each other, that would be a plus as well. So let's write that down. So two negatives right beside each other turn into a positive. Now these are rules that you likely learned in previous years, and you had a number line and you went into all that and how the mechanics of how it works on the number line. So this is just a quick refresher with some little hints to help you remember how integers work together. Let's quickly go over multiplication and division. So if we have a positive 2 times a positive 3, that is going to give us a positive 6. Now if we have a negative 2 times a negative 3, that is also going to give us a positive 6. Negative 2 times positive 3 gives us negative 6, and positive 2 times negative 3 gives us negative 6 as well. So hopefully you can see here that when the signs are the same and we're multiplying only two different integers together, we are going to get a positive answer. And when the signs are different, so in the last two, then we are going to get a negative. So what we want to remember with multiplication is that a negative times a negative gives a positive answer. And a negative times a positive gives a negative answer. Let's do one extra question down here though. What if we have a positive 2 times a negative 3 and then times a negative 4? So here we actually have three integers multiplied together. Let's do this one step by step. So what I mean by that is we're going to slow things down. We're just going to multiply our first two integers together. So we have a positive 2 times a negative 3. That's going to give us negative 6. And then we still need to multiply that by negative 4. And now we have negative 6 times negative 4. We have a negative times a negative. That's going to give us positive 24 as our answer. And lastly, let's do division. So let's say we have 6 divided by positive 2. That's going to give us a positive 3. If we have 6 divided by negative 2, that is going to give us a negative 3. If we have negative 6 divided by positive 2, that gives us negative 3. And if we have negative 6 divided by negative 2, that gives us a positive 3. So what you want to remember here is actually very similar to what we had with multiplication. When the signs are different, so right here, when the signs are different, then our answer is going to be negative. And when our signs are the same, so like the first and the last examples, our answer is going to be positive. So let's sum that up. So when the signs are the same, the answer will be positive. When the signs are different, the answer will be negative. And just before we finish things up, let's take a quick look at calculator buttons. So there's many different types of calculators out there. And we don't want to use the subtraction button on our calculator when we want to be using a negative. So if, for example, we were trying to do 6 divided by -2, and we know that's going to give us -3. We've already done that. That negative sign in front of the 2 is not the same as the subtraction button on your calculator. So buttons on your calculator might look like this. It might be a negative symbol in a bracket. So here's one possibility for your calculator button. Or you might have a button that looks like this, where it shows a plus and a minus, or a positive and a negative together on one button. And depending on your calculator, in order to make your integer, or it could be a decimal in this case, you could have a negative decimal, but to make it negative, you need to press one of these two buttons either before or after the number, and you're not going to know until you play around with your calculator. So I'm going to write must press before or after to make number negative. Play with your calculator to find out.